Howdy, 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 everybody, and welcome to the World Racing League here at Daytona International Speedway. I'm Austin. I am joined by Daniel Durr and Marco Bombardera, and we're live from Daytona Beach, Florida. Daniel, Marco, how are y'all doing?
Yeah, we're doing all right, Austin. I think really looking forward to a great race here. You know, we've got a bunch of drivers that should be showing up to Daytona with WRL in the real life in about a week or so. So looking forward to seeing some good racing. What are your thoughts, Marco?
Man, I'm so excited to be back. Of course, here at Daytona, one of the best, if not the best, racetrack. The history, the passion of the fans. Every time there is the Daytona 24 Hour, which, by the way, is my favorite endurance race of the year. It beats Le Mans, in my opinion. And of course, this beautiful field of cars today. After the very nice Okayama round that we had, we see some big numbers. It's going to be so much fun, in my opinion. And the drafting, especially in the MX-5s, especially in the TCR, Audi TCRs, is going to be massive.
I don't know if I could have said it any better. Yeah, the drafting today should be spectacular, you know, through most of this oval here. And I've got a feeling we'll see some pretty good action in the chicane here. Drivers having to drop down the speed, especially in the upper class cars, while the Miatas take it nearly full bore. So it should be interesting.
Driving the MX-5 around here in a pack is going to be absolutely massive, and a massive massive just drafting. And it's going to be a very interesting race, watching everyone just race so close with each other. And they're all going to be a stone's throw away from disaster.
We have some new graphics package for you today, of course. And just to freshen things up, as Jared Joseph goes leader of the GP3 class, as you can see the class coloring on top of your screen is navy blue for GTO, I would say bronze or orange for GP1, black for GP2, and Miami Dolphins steel for the GP3, the MX-5 you can see right now. And of course the colors will be coded also on the track map when the race starts. It will pop up on the top right of your screen, and on the bottom you can see, of course, the qualifying. The selected car, of course, that little green stripe on the right of the position, on the left side of the screen and on the bottom of the screen. It seems like most of the drivers have already completed their qualifying attempts, guys. So we are just waiting for the last few GP3 cars, I think, trying to set their time, especially the pole sitter, Joseph, and Carver in second. You can see they are trading quick sectors in this lap. Let's jump on board with Carver.
Yeah, one thing about driving in this track that I find so much fun is that, you know, to see where you're going, you really just have to look up and left. You know, you don't really look out in front of your cars, just up and to the left. It makes it kind of a weird adjustment that you have to make.
Yeah, I remember the first time I driven here on Sim, it was a weird adjustment, and especially when you get into the nighttime racing here, it's just a completely different track. But it's one of the weirdest things, as that's a cut track for Jared Joseph as his teammate Todd Carver. Purple in Sector 1, green in Sector 2, yellow through 3 and 4, but it looks like he is on a blaster right now, coming out of the chicane and through that long turn, NASCAR turn for and into the tri-oval. And the drafting we're going to see here up to the line is going to be absolutely awesome.
Yeah, it will be. But you can see here, he's about to brake and haul it in, you know, push out the anchor, really drop the car down for a 200+ degree corner. Like, you're going 170 miles an hour in some of the top class cars, and you really have to haul it down for this really tight left-hand corner that's more than 180 degrees. It makes for a lot of action. People tend to get a little overzealous passing in that corner. So I'm sure we'll see a lot of action there tonight. You know, any other hot spots that you guys are looking forward to seeing, either Austin or?
Well, I say, talking from experience, I can say that I've raced in three iRacing Daytona 24-hour races in the last 4 years, and I don't think, and I've driven for quite a lot of time, especially in the last one, in the latest one I did earlier in 2020. I don't think I've ever done across all 3 races turn 1 the same way every time. It's quite a difficult corner, and the corner that Joseph just did, that brings you back on the oval, it is so bumpy, very easy to lose your car if you go on the power. On one of those bumps you need to be very careful, especially with some of the the MX-5s, for example. Cars that don't have traction control, which is basically everyone apart from the GT4s. And of course, you can afford to do that with the TCR cars, because they can you can pretty much I wouldn't say floor it, because you would have massive understeer, but you can be confident that if you press the gas pedal with the right amount of pressure, you can go.
You can give it a little bit more oomph.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly the plan. Hopefully, it works for these guys. But of course, many classes. Many cars, 4 classes, a lot of cars, so that first corner I think is going to be very important, especially in the first lap. And then the more we go into the race, that chicane, of course, most of the times you want to be behind on the final lap, so you can have an unimpeded run to the checkered flag basically, and try with the draft to get the job done.
Yeah, and it sounds like those are definitely places that we're looking for some action. But as you see here, as we come into the infield, one of the corners that, especially as the tires start to wear out, you can see the difference between the fast drivers and the slow drivers. Actually, this right-hand corner coming up, it's at the limit. It's really kind of an awkward feeling corner until you get it right. Because you feel like you either have a little bit extra track on the outside, or you're, just using a little bit too much and not getting the car pointed early enough. So, that corner, I think later on in the tires for some of these cars, we should expect to see, a lot of gaps closing, a lot of drivers finding some passing attempts here in the infield.
Also, lapping is going to be a very big issue here, especially in the infield, because it's kind of a tight infield compared to most of the other tracks. It's tight and wide at the same time. Going into some of these turns, some drivers will prefer wanting to have the inside line than the outside line, so they're going to have to communicate with themselves. But passing and lapping onto the infield is going to be very important. But passing on the oval is going to be very easy. But is there a WRL driver code on faster cars pass on the outside being enforced?
I don't believe there's one being enforced, so because I'm not enforcing one, so I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll see some 3 and 4 wide on occasion. You never know, right?
Let me say 4 wide. I'm grabbing popcorn.
Yeah, that would be pretty spectacular here. Well, I guess we're coming to the closing qualifying, and we should see what our starting grid looks like.
Yep, 20 minutes in, and qualifying is over. So, as you were saying, let's bring on the grid.
I like your excited voice, Austin.
Thank you. And starting up on pole, it's Rye Galloway, followed by John D. Price, Chris Prize, Lee Peterson, Billy Smith II, Aubrey Kundal, Ryan Wagner, Greg Crusoe, Mick Blue, Michael Johnson, Stephen Denton, Brian Leary, and Paul Denton at the back of the GTO grid. And over to Daniel, who's going to cover the GP1s.
So in GP1, we still have a decent-sized field. We've got 6 drivers competing here. We got Jordan Musser in P1, Paul Slavonic in P2, Daniel Sadro in P3, followed by Brian Sapelski, who's still a contender for some of the top spots here, Joseph Mayer, and Chris Jennings. And in GP2 in the Mustangs, a little bit thinner class than we had been seeing, but we've got Max Lupfer, who recently started pushing the leaders for the top spots in this class, and Chris DeShong, who's one of the class leaders for most of the season here. So we should see some exciting racing between the two. And back to you, Austin, for GP3.
Jared Joseph and Todd Carver are the cars at the front of the field for the GP3 class, followed by Simon Foweather, Greg Mack, Alan Dobbs, Greg Brockway, Darren Dean, Jason Boss, Barry Huron, with Ben Wedge at the end of this 10-car field for the GT3. And that is your starting lineup here for the WRL at Daytona.
And here we go with the new track map. So we have the cars will be color coded just like on the left side of the screen. Now, of course, they're all bunched up, therefore it's a bit tough to pick them out. But it looks like we are going green as the field is slowly rolling. And you can see some separation in between the classes as the Caymans pull away. Now it's time for the Audis to pull away.
Is that a dragon on the hood?
For which car?
I saw a Porsche with like a dragon on the hood of it.
Well, oh, maybe.
But then again, I was seeing something. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there's a dragon right there.
Good catch. Mick Blue, we love delivery. All right,
Yeah,
there's
apparently
Ryan
I was
Galloway.
seeing things last time, so just wanted to be sure. See the separation of the classes on the mini map right now as the Porsche safety car is about to pull off in 3, 2, 1. Hey. Ladies and gentlemen, the revs are rising, the heartbeats are too, because we're going racing here at Daytona. Let's go away.
It looks like Rye got a pretty good jump there on the start. Let's see if there's a little bit of chaos behind him, or if he can avoid it. Ooh, real good avoiding contact there by Greg Cruzco.
Yeah, great clean start up there into turn 1. See the GP2s and GP3s entering right there. Oh, Jared Joseph almost going sideways mid-corner. But no chaos at all, and everyone's made it through there cleanly, and I think that's a first.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty impressive. That's definitely a corner that can cause some trouble here. But it looks like drivers are all being a little bit patient. I'm surprised we haven't seen more moves in the infield here. A few positions trading, but not very many.
Everyone just getting their mind to the right set and waiting to make those moves start onto the tri-oval and the banked ovals, which really separate Daytona from any other road course and any other race all over the world. Is these banked turns. It's pedal to the metal. It's better than the back straight because you got a giant turn while you're doing it. And it's just so fun driving in a pack here. And then you got this bus stop.
Yeah. And you can see Pi is really using all the track to try and keep up with Galloway. These two drivers, they tend to be quicker than a lot of drivers. You'll see Price and Smith, keep up with them from track to track, but Pies and Galloway are consistently at the front of the pack. Wow, yeah, look at Max and Deschong battle already. I mean, they're going at it on the chicane there.
Yeah, Deschong all over the back of Lupfer. And here's a replay of something that happened on the back of Paul Savani and Michael Ray Johnson going into the bus stop chicane right in front of the TCR leaders. And the back of the GTOs and the top of the GP1s are kind of intertwined with each other right now.
Yeah, just a long enough track that we should see the slower Porsches not quite hold up the GP1s as much as they had on some of the shorter tracks. It definitely makes this the ovals, because this weekend and next week we should have an oval course. So it should make those tracks a little bit different than what we had seen earlier in the season. But wow, look at the traffic that Savonik and Sadro and Musser are having to deal with here.
Let's ride on board Paul Savani as we head into the International Horseshoe. Right now, this very tight and tricky right-hander. And you get to see the separation and differences between the Porsches and the TCRs right now, especially when we get onto the oval.
Yeah, and so these TCR cars, they generally run a little bit more aero than the GT4s would otherwise. So, on the infield, I would argue they've got a bit of an advantage, even though they're a front drive car rather than a rear drive car or a mid-engine rear drive like the GT4s. But when you get on the oval, you can actually see the Porsche start to gap them away, even in a draft.
Now, looks like
Is Musser going to make a move?
Brian Stavelski was closing in, but he's actually lifted. But the top three have separated from Sadro and the rest of the field in the GP2s. GP1s. And up front, Galloway Pies nose to tail as the rest of the field is behind them as John D. Price sets the new fast lap at 1:53.920. Oh, no. That's Ben Wedge going around it. Oh, he took the jump.
Now that's a spot that we're seeing, both physical cars are, at WRL in a week and a half here. They'll be trying to avoid issues there, but it sounded like, folks in the sim were struggling with it as well. So, even after practice, we're having drivers that otherwise are pretty competent struggle with that chicane.
Yeah, that corner, I know for experience, is absolutely dreadful when you go in there and you just bite the bump so hard that your car jumps over, tips to the side, and just all the weight shift is just every which way to Sunday, and it's not a fun experience.
Ooh.
Well, you were asking for 3 wide, and we got it here in the tri-oval. Todd Carver, Jared Joseph, and Simon Foweather. 1, 2, 3 into turn 1, and that very relevant car up at front.
I have a problem for Chris Pice. He has disappeared. Now he has reappeared. So Foweather was in third at the chicane on the previous lap, and like I was saying in the pre-race, he got the draft of both Carver and Joseph and jumped them both up into first place. So that is something that if you can pass 2 teammates thanks to the draft, you can make for some interesting racing, like we were saying, come the final lap of the race.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right, and it would be interesting to look at the sector times of some of the teammates, because it does look like there are places where each of those 2 team drivers are gapping the other. Same thing when you compare Price, Pies, and Galloway. It seems like sector to sector they're trading off a bit. I love that sound. Love that sound.
Oh, and hard on the brakes was Price, and he almost gets into the back of Pies in the braking zone of the International Hairpin. And that corner so tricky to get right, especially in a pack. And oh, Price getting onto the curve. You could have saw how much that turned the car and how much he's fighting the wheel to keep it pointed straight.
Yeah, you're exactly right there. One other thing that I noticed is it looks like something we hadn't seen earlier in the season. Price might actually be braking later than Pies. It seems like his braking markers are a good 10-15 feet later than Pies's. So it'd be interesting to see if he runs a little bit more front tire wear, and if that matters here at all on the oval.
It definitely might matter with how much ABS you're using and how you're driving the car, especially with the oval, and how you're setting up the car, because the way you set up a road car, the way you set up an oval car is a pretty different thing. But when you combine an oval and a road course, which part are you actually setting up and focusing on? As you can see Pies diving down to the inside after getting up onto that hump, trying to get the speed off the gravity right there. Try to pull away from Price as they head into turn 1.
Marco, what is 240 kilometers an hour in freedom units?
That's what I was missing from my from my new project file. So Oh dear.
Uh-oh.
Oh, this is Aubrey Kundal. Big chunk of the front nose missing. Let's get a replay of there heading into turn 1. And I think we have our first turn 1 incident. And it's just a little... Big...
I'll get back to you in a second.
All right. Yeah, that incident there with Abercundle, that's interesting because it really feels like there wasn't really anything causing that. Didn't seem like there was too much too much speed being carried on and on the entry. It just looked like a little bit mid corner, maybe rolled on power just a little bit fast, but it wasn't a snap oversteer either. It was just this really slow rotation into the wall. I mean, what do you make of that, Austin?
It's just so... You just get onto the gas a little bit too faster as we get back our freedom units. And that car, once it just starts turning and it starts the tank slapper, it's just going to keep on pushing. And unfortunately for Aubrey, they went into the wall. Let's ride on board for a more precise... They get around the corner just fine, but you just hear them get onto the gas a little more, and it just went. And it doesn't seem like Aubrey actually lifted off, thinking that they can swing it back forward. But when you feel the car start to turn, you just kind of to lift off, apply the brakes just a little bit to resettle the car.
Completely agree. All right, we've got our first GTO car passed by the GP1 field. It only took 10 minutes into this race, so that's definitely the longest we've seen so far this season.
As it's 1, 2, 3, Carver, Joseph, Foweather, and a little bit of a parking lot situation happening into the international hairpin. And they also have Mac join them as well. Top 4, and all 3 of them taking completely different lines. And Foweather actually completely missing the curves. And who's going to have the best run going into the bus stop?
Yeah, Simon's got a double draft here, but the distance between him and Joseph is a little bit further than Joseph and Carver, so I'm not sure it'll be enough for him to catch up before the chicane, but I may be wrong.
Hello, Mazda front bumper, and here we go, 3 wide. Whoa. Here comes Foweather, and now Carver and Joseph, they're going to succeed that first place because they're just going to get him back on the bus. A weird noise just came out of the mouth right there as Foweather went sideways into the bus stop chicane.
Yeah, and these 4 racing so close is really exciting, but in about a half a lap to a lap here, we're going to see the front of the GTO crowd, come into them, and it looks like they might catch them in the infield. So that's definitely going to be, problematic as to how that's going to shake out the positions here. Will any of the drivers be able to take advantage of the passing cars more than the others?
That's the beauty of multi-class racing, as it looked like Carver and Joseph were bump drafted right there. As they dive into turn 1, Foweather is on the door of Joseph. Joseph has to go all the way out to the concrete, but he stays in third, and Foweather avoided contact with all those guys in the GTO field are licking their teeth seeing this, and it's a very tasty battle, but a very scary situation if you're leading the GTO field and if you're Ryan Galloway, because 4 battling cars for the lead and you're the leader. It's going to be very aggressive and scrappy when he catch up to him. He might just save all the overtaking just for the bank turns.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this a few times over the season, especially when we see these 2 classes running into each other. We've had a lot of these tight battles at the front of GP3, and we've seen in a number of races where an unfortunate GTO car just gets caught up with them. So, yeah, it looks like Rye chose to be a little bit more patient on the infield than he needed to be, gave a little bit of his gap. John Price ran into some traffic as well, but made sure he did the passing on the oval, just like you said, Austin. Yeah, I think you were spot on there.
Well, you can certainly see the speed difference of the MX-5 versus the Porsche GT4. Speaking of the GT4s, new GT4 was released today. Are we going to be seeing a Beamer very soon in the iWRL?
We might be seeing it. We might be seeing some multiple car classes at some point here. But I wanted to touch on, the speed differential that you mentioned earlier just a second ago. Hopefully you don't mind the tangent. Going into the chicane on the back straight, Rye Galloway's car was going 168 miles per hour. At that same point in the track, Todd Carver and Simon Foweather were going 127. So there's this huge gap in speeds just in that short portion of the straight, and you can see it again on the front straight. Really, it's like them standing still on the side of a highway as the cars roar by. It's quite a difference here, definitely more than we've seen on some of the other tracks.
Where do you live where a highway goes 40 miles an hour?
Well, it's almost.
Oh! Harper!
Wow.
Got a little bit upset mid-quarter and almost came into a Steven.
Wow.
Ryan Wagner. Almost.
Yeah.
So...
Wow, and Foweather's bringing it back to Joseph and Carver. Look at that, outside to inside.
Ooh. I'm pretty sure Marco hasn't heard me make that sound before.
I am very concerned, but I totally agree with you. I mean, I understand that this is absolutely crazy, and they both survived. Not only the MX-5s, but also that Cayman that was bang, the two teammates.
Oh, and almost that is.
Joseph
and
Carver.
Almost McBlue getting into the back of Mac. And here comes McBlue swinging around the inside. He's going to be caught up in the braking zone. But yeah, Jared Joseph has front nose damage.
I think we had an issue
and
for Paul Denton.
Yeah, and it looks like his entry into the early on in the corner was pretty clean, but he just lost it mid-corner again, just like Kundal did.
But he saved like it from the wall.
Yes. For now. Yeah, Muster, Sadro, and Sabelski. Wow, that's definitely a close battle there. Interesting to see this early in the race, that much of a gap between Paul Slavonic and Jordan Musser. We had, typically we've seen Jordan Musser really, push the pressure early on in the race. And, we'd commented a few times on him carrying a little bit more entry speed and Paul kind of focusing on carrying that momentum, braking a little earlier and kind of being first on throttle at the exit. But, yeah, it seems like Paul's having a great day today.
Yeah, Paul's having an absolute blast today. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be very happy with how this race is going to finish if it stays like this.
Yeah, I'm looking at the sector times, and yeah, his fast laps are nearly a half second faster than the next fastest drivers in his class, and his his last laps were also running about that half second faster. So he's whatever he's doing it right.
Well, if nothing's broke, don't fix it, and I think he's going to keep everything in shape. As this battle for second is definitely helping him out in the lead as they're slowing each other down right now. Muster, Sadro side by side heading into turn one. A little bit squirrely for both of them in the braking zone, but they kept it very clean. And what is happening in this MX-5 field?
I mean, every time we switch the camera to them, Marco, it looks like we've got them on all parts of the track. There is no untouched piece of pavement for these four cars. What are you watching as you watch this battle here, Marco?
I mean, I see some great drivers who are, battling it hard, taking some risks, but they are taking calculated risks. But every time I switch the cameras, they are either too wide, 3 wide, And I'm keeping an eye on Greg Mack because he is the calmest so far of the four. He's been sitting there, waiting. It's very early in the race, and maybe will be the one. I mean, we already seen contact between Carver and Joseph, even though it was completely random. But they ran into each other because they were racing so hard with foul weather. So Mack is trying to keep his car clean. As you can see, GT4 comes around the outside, and once again they come to NASCAR 3 and 4, and the draft party starts once again.
And you can see the power of the draft there. At the start of the back straight, Mack was a second back on from Joseph. He's now within 4/10. Definitely using that draft to keep his car close but out of the fray.
And oh, Carver, very wide berth into the corner, but he's got a great ace and he's on the back of Foweather once more. And this fight for the GP3 lead. Let's go to the fight for GP2 second place. And GP1 second place. I'm getting these numbers confused, I swear, because I think the Beamer is in this field, but it's not currently.
Well, GP2 is 2 cars, so you can, think it like that. Maybe it is easier for you.
And it looks like Lupfer might be making a move on Deschamps right now. Coming into turn 1. Oh, he thought about it. Oh, he thought about it. Trying to take an outside in here. Wow.
Deschamps, I thought it was going to drift turn 1 for a bit, and I thought they were bump drafting into there. But these two GP2 cars, if you guys want to show a Battle for All race, watch the GP2 category, as they're being held up by 2 GP3s. And I think they're going to shoot the moon and go straight through them.
You've said it many times before, Austin, but that's the beauty of multi-class racing. It's great.
Just all-out chaos when 2 faster classes meet a slower class, and they have a power struggle.
Oh, Michael Ryan with the Barbanera mistake. I've done this plenty of times in my Daytona attempts in the 24-hour race, and also my trademark move, which is missing the bus stop.
Well, that's a faster way around the track, actually. If you don't do the bus stop, you just go straight through. It's I find I shave a lot of time that way.
Minus the slowdown penalty.
Well, but if you have to pit, you can do it, and you gain a massive amount of time, which is, of course, protestable. But if no one catches you.
Oh, Albert Kundal is going slow. Kundal taking a trip on the inside of turn, on the very inside of the track, and caught up into the grass.
You need to be careful there, because even if you rejoin like she did, sometimes it will detect that you cut basically the track there, because if you go too far to the right, she should be in the clear, I think.
Yeah, they're fine.
That was closer.
I'm just waiting. I just hope nobody does the trademark Austin Knight mistake. But since the series doesn't do pit stops that much... No, wait, no, they do, don't they?
Oh, by the way, Austin, tell the good folks at home your experience in this year's Daytona 24-hour race.
Let's not talk about that. So we gridded up, and our race was over before the green flag started because... Well, let's just say somebody got brake checked by the leading car. Because he was too close to the GTEs, and then the entire GT3 field piled on top of me. And then we blew the engine. And then pulling out of the pit lane, I may have Austin Powers it. Which is knighting it.
At that point it was, it was all over, I mean...
At that point, I pretty much laughed myself to a cross-eyed state and just wanted it to be over. Still better than not signing up at all.
Ooh, Zabelski gets a little loose there. Ooh, a little bit offline on the entry.
Did you hear the tires just hopping on the ground, just going for grip? It's just bam, 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 bam. That's
sounded
how
like we were
hard.
at Sebring.
This ain't the 2007 scan of the track.
Yep. But yeah, here those guys are trying to fight through the front of the GP1 class right at the entry of turn 1. This smells like it could be dangerous, especially with as hard as these guys have been fighting.
Oh my MX-5s, look at these guys. Too wide. And where did Mac go? Mac's in there somewhere. But Carver going wide. Joseph retakes the lead. Mac is behind a TCR, but Joseph and Foweather side by side through turns 3 and 4, heading into the first horseshoe.
Look at
Wow.
that.
Look at Joseph. He is full on opposite lock trying to keep that car pointed straight.
That was pretty. That was really pretty. You could see him. He was cooking it on the way in. He closed the gap to Carver there. Got on throttle about the same time. That was really nice looking driving.
Leif Peterson first one into the pits, and it looked like he was cooking it on entry right now. And speaking of cooking it, Marco, what's the weather like?
Oh, you are absolutely right. Let's go with the weather report as we go. Oh wow, looked like it was a bit earlier in the day. Now it's mid to late afternoon. We have 99 degrees on the track, so not very hot, but not very cold either. I mean, more hot than cold, I would say. As that's Chris Pies going through. No wind to speak of. Sounds like.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the thing that catches my eye. Very little wind to disrupt your aero or what aero you may or may not have on the track here.
Sounds like a picture-perfect day to go on the beach, even though I don't like going to the beach. So sounds like a perfect day to stay at home.
Perfect day to sit in the stands and watch a great race here at Daytona International Speedway.
Wow, Pies and Price, they're still 9/10 of a second between the two of them, and it's 25 minutes in. But Rye Galloway has opened the gap to 11 seconds. I mean, we've seen this a few times earlier in the season where he opens the gap, and later in the race, the other drivers are able to kind of close it back. But, Rye Galloway is just on a tear right now.
Look at that.
To pull out a...
Look at the gap.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, that is just a steady... half a second a lap. I'm not sure how fast that is per lap, but it's just exponential growth right there, and that has to deal with the laps cars and just his all-out pace to pull out a 11-second gap at Daytona before 30 minutes hit means you have to be pushing so hard, and it just shows how just on a different level you are, because the draft here is so important as we see Pies and Price. Pies on the switchback, but Price says, no, buddy, you stay behind me. But they are going at each other right now, which is also helping Rye Galloway pull away.
And you can see they took completely different lines in that corner. Price took kind of a really late apex there, but it didn't seem like he was able to capitalize and get on throttle that much sooner than Pies. But I'm sure we'll see over the course of the race, we'll see a few more close moments there between these two drivers.
Austin, for a second I thought that you were going to ask me about some recipe, when you said speaking about cooking. The stereotype that Italians, we eat fantastic food. I'm a terrible cook. I can only cook so many things, like, simple things. But now you made me very, 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 very hungry, and it's 3:30 in the morning, so I blame you.
Hey, you can stay up with me and we can just chill, and I can make some tacos.
How do you intend to send them to Italy in timely manner?
You make them beside me?
Oh, Brian Leary has got an issue.
We got an incident in the bus stop chicane, a TCR car, or there was a car in the chicane that got into another car, and yeah, the 25 made contact. Very slow through there. You can see the flashing light for the 14, and I thought they tapped sides, but no, they didn't. But the 14 and Chris Pies very upset with the 25. And there's Brian Leary doing a pirouette at the International Horseshoe.
I think he just wanted to run on the other section of track.
Let's see if he got the Joker lap. No, it's not a valid Joker lap, unfortunately.
Wait, was that... Wait,
That's
that
a great
wasn't
joke.
the... Let's go back. Was that the right piece of... That was the first...
He did half of the Joker lap, more or less.
Okay, I thought he was doing the inside loop instead of the outside loop, but no. He finished his lap on the Joker as Blue is in the...
And Marco, do you think you could explain to the viewers like what a Joker lap is for those that aren't familiar? Because we definitely have a few that don't run races on this platform all the time.
Oh yes, of course. In the rallycross competition, you are required to take one Joker lap per race. Joker lap means that instead of doing the pre-planned or the traditional, basically rallycross circuits have series of corners, the racetrack, just like a normal racetrack, but they also have a special section that you have to take once per race. In North America, usually the Joker lap is a shorter way around. So most of the times in iRacing, you will see that the Joker lap is basically like a piece of the
shortcut.
A shortcut. Thank you. But for example, here in Europe, we tend to have a longer. I think in L, which I've never raced on, but I think there, for example, when you take the Joker lap, it's longer. You take a longer route around the racetrack. So it's all part of the strategy and decide when to take it. Here in Daytona, in the rallycross variant of Daytona, that little small hairpin on the inside of the international horseshoe is the Joker lap.
Mm-hmm.
And if we had the Utah Motorsports Park, I think the iRacing Joker lap system would explode because they don't require one Joker lap. They require 2 different Joker laps because they have a 3-way Joker lap system where it's one massive jump and then one smaller jump in between that massive jump and then the regular track goes underground underneath both of them. So if you want to see iRacing devs explode, request the Utah Motorsports Park.
Simon Foweder is pitting, and he's pitting on his own. So
Strategy?
And it looks like he took a 28-second pit stop here. He definitely took tires. Yeah, definitely took tires. He stopped earlier than some of the other drivers. Hopefully it'll make a difference. In terms of lap time, what we were seeing is the tires have already fallen off a little more than a second per lap in the GP3 class. So he might be making a little gamble here that, the couple extra seconds he spent in the pit, he can capitalize on that in these next 30 minutes.
Where did Brennan Herrod come from? That's what I'm concerned about.
He came from because he didn't pit. From not pitting. So you can see Brockway also has to pit. Oh well, let's bring up the graphics. No, we don't, because we have a crash. And that is not the right way.
No, that's not. That's on the exit of the bus stop. And I think we're going to see a Porsche GT4 tank slapper, and yes, we are.
But he keeps it off the wall.
And he attempts a Scandinavian flick with a car that has traction control. So.
But better to do it like that than to join. I know I was poking fun, but he did the right thing as Chris Pice positive. Speaking of rallycross, by the way, as Wagoner smartly jumps into the pit lane. Stay tuned on this channel for some news coming hopefully soon. Trademark hashtag. Whatever.
Oh yeah. Hashtag iRacing soon. Some very exciting stuff happening with ApexRacingTV and stuff that involves cars that go brrrr and jumps.
And jumps. Yes.
Ah, that sounds fun.
That's the only thing I can say because we are working behind the scenes. I don't even think that the higher ups at ApexRacingTV know this yet, or maybe they do. But
They do.
If they didn't, they do now. If they didn't,
I don't know.
Hi Lee. Yeah,
you
we are
know,
working stuff on.
I think it's crazy that I was thinking about this the other day. How in the world they can trust this late night broadcast to me and Austin with no supervision whatsoever. Like, we basically have a free reign on everything at this time of the day here on ApexRacingTV. We are the kings of the night. So I mean, we could do...
As some would say, it's nighttime.
Exactly, and no one is. We basically have unchecked power.
And we have a few more entries into the pits as these two drivers are continuing to battle within a second of each other. 33 minutes into the race.
The TCR party in the pits right now. Slavonic, Sadro, Jabelski, Meyer, everyone.
Galloway and Smith in GTO are also in the pits.
And there they are. I think
Someone break out the disco balls, because that party is looking lit. Yeah, I'm kind of scared of the amount of power I actually have right now.
All right, Rye Galloway with a relatively quick stop. I mean, it looks like... Oh, no, he's on par with Chris Pies. Leif Peterson had a little bit quicker stop. Billy Smith was slowed down by about a second, so, you know, maybe didn't optimize the, pit limiter going through the pit lane there. But, yeah, you know, all four of those top four drivers in GTO all had shorter stops than the next set. So it's possible the next set all took tires, Blue, Wagner, and Krusco.
Look at those GP3 pit stops. So this is the time from cone to cone. As you were saying, Joseph has got basically a...
Wow.
49.6, Mac 51.2, but then Carver and Forward are close to 55 seconds. You know, of course, sitting in the draft lets you save a bit of fuel, so that might also be the case. But you know, they swapped around pretty frequently. These the three leaders, plus Greg Mack, who waited in the wings all the time. So we'll see as Brockway and Uran are in the pits, so the situation gets is restored. But something I haven't noticed that maybe because of that shorter stop, it's a big gap now at the top of the table in GP3.
There is, and will those drivers work together to try and catch Jared Joseph, or are they going to battle amongst themselves and give him a chance to run away?
I think we're about to see a good old Daytona bump draft happen with these three cars trying to catch up to Jared Joseph.
But will Carver, do it, like they do in cycling, basically not working together. Sometimes in road cycling, if there is a rider from your team that's running away with the stage, the other riders, his teammates that are in the group in the chasing pack, will not cooperate in order to slow down the chase. So we'll see. Sounds like that's the beauty of having teammates in the race. So they are certainly on the radio. They're certainly working on a strategy together. By the way, the GP2 battle has been broken up because
Lufer went for the undercut.
Yeah, and so we'll keep an eye on the Shong. I think we'll pit right now. Let's see. Let's focus on. Look at that. Oh, look at that livery, man.
Every time I see that car, I'm just like biggest smile on my face.
Austin, are you social distancing with your microphone in the last 3 to 5 minutes?
Yes, I am.
Why?
Can that be on the highlight reel?
You sound like
I was taking a drink of water, and I just like kicked up my feet and just leaned on. And I just forgot to adjust my mic.
Sorry, I should be doing that, given that it's almost 4 in the morning. I mean, you are in the middle of your evening, So.
It's 8:40 p.m.
So now for
and so Max Lufer had a 49-second pit stop there. I'm sorry, I cut you off, Marco.
No, don't worry. Just say that for weather jumped in front of this pack. Maybe he will try to lead the way. Maybe he wants to, take charge. But you are right. Let's keep an eye on the Shong if he stops this time around.
So we ride on board this beautiful Ford Mustang FR5 number S. It's a very weirdly named car. Yeah, it's a car. It's a GP2. But Deshaun heading into the pit lane at a very little bit. He's nailed it. He's got it. Nailed it straight down.
So pit lane time from cone to cone. On the left side of your screen, 49.0. Let's see the Shong. He's updating in real time, also on the bottom of your screen.
We're seeing his crew members do the little animation dance on the side as the Shong is just fuel and go. And where is Lupfer? He's coming into NASCAR turns 3 and entering turn 4 right now. Here comes the Shong out of the pits.
Now, there were some changes in the last patch to the Mustang. Do we know if they updated the Mustang to the new tire model yet?
Was it updated a few builds ago, the new tire model?
But the Mustang was not on it.
Yeah, the Mustang wasn't.
Okay, I will tell you in a second. But the Shong, miles ahead of Lupfer.
Wow.
And with a relatively similar stop. So some traffic maybe played or let's see the time in the pit stall. Are there big differences? No. Just a second.
1 second. That's
yeah. So traffic probably for Lupfer there. You know,
yeah. Lupfer was heading into traffic going into turn 1. So that definitely was holding him up as the waves of our timing tower just get very hypnotizing to look at. As this is Ryan Galloway at a lapped GTO. Behind him, I believe that's Leary.
Okay, I'm stopping. Let's
Marco, you're gonna get me into a trance right here.
Let's see these release notes for the. There is the you know, the master release notes of iRacing, which is always fun to take a peek at because they have all the release notes from the beginning of time, basically.
And for those who aren't familiar with it or didn't check their account yet, earlier today, iRacing patched the service. It was a massive patch. For me, it was like 6.7 gigabytes of updates for all the cars and tracks. So there were a lot of little things here and there, and I do believe there was some change to the Mustangs, but I can't confirm. Marco, you're going to confirm what that was.
Okay, I have it open right in front of me. So yes, we have new tire model for the Mustang.
All right.
Oh, well, the Shong and Lupfer are definitely going to be struggling and on a learning curve with that, but 40 minutes into this race and after their pit stop, with both of them not taking tires, I think they're going to be in that good ballpark with that new tire model, and I think we're going to see a lot more happy faces in the Mustang communities that are running.
And as you switch back here to Simon Foweather, Carver, and Mack, all trying to catch up Jared Joseph, they have been able to close the gap significantly, but there's still a 3-second gap here. So you can kind of see them slowly chipping away at it, you know, lap by lap. And what's unclear is whether or not Joseph is giving them some time by taking it easy here, or if they're actually clearing that on their own. Yeah, it looks like Jared Joseph's lap times are all, you know, kind of on par with his previous fast laps. So that's the power of the group working together.
Yeah, look at that. It's pretty, you know, consistent. 13.8, 13.8, 13.9, 13.7. But no matter what he does, I mean, look at that. He did a 13.7, which was faster than a 13.9, of course, but he lost more. The group gained alpha second on him as Ben Wedge is having some more issues. I think, again, I always feel bad when something I say in the pre-race becomes true, especially if it's bad news. But these bumps in this corner are really taking their toll. I think this is the third car. And that is something I've never... I mean, they must have included a new crater there, like, you know... a former volcano, because I have never seen car bounce that high. Trust me, I went off there many times, so I know everything about that.
Marco, you obviously haven't seen me drive the Mercedes GT3 at one of our practice sessions there then. I turned that thing into a ramp.
Friendly reminder that I beat Austin in that race, if you're talking about the majors.
Oh, okay, we're doing this again. Friendly reminder that I beat you in qualifying.
Oh, you beat me in qualifying, sorry. You also beat me in
Uh
Daytona
oh,
500
we've got a stopped
qualifying.
car at the bus stop.
Yeah,
I
Brian
also
Leary
beat you.
dropped in the bus stop.
Brian Leary doesn't like
Before-
this corner.
before Marco and I start fighting, let's change the subject completely quickly.
Let's thank Brian for his spin that brought us back to
Oh,
racing.
he just touched the grass.
Oh,
He avoids some more drama. So we are. Oh, wow! Already, this race is really flying.
52 minutes in.
I mean, this is incredible. These races go by so quickly. I'm so happy that I get to cover this championship. And you know, 2 of my regular series now have unfortunately jumped ship. So probably I will have even more time to do these late night ones. So
Great. We'll have to make it an hour and a half instead of just an hour, so that way you get a little more action.
Ben wedged. Why can I can't say wedge tonight? But another
Wedge.
issue for him, unfortunately. Let's
I think
see.
Marco and I
Does
switched
he have
personalities.
damage? Or was that just plow straight off the edge?
Yeah, he does. Back left panel, it's a bit bumped and tapped right there. And, ooh, almost got slapped
he-
by the TCR.
Did he get it here when he bounced on the on the?
No,
plate
he's
earlier?
already had it.
Let's see.
He's already had it, and
Yeah.
No.
doink.
No.
Oh,
No.
there.
I think he
That's
got
it. Yeah, there's the damage. It just showed up.
Yeah.
So
Well-
that damaged the suspension.
Again,
Rear
I don't-
suspension damage.
I mean, I might be wrong, but I don't remember that massive bump being there.
I don't really think there is a massive bump there. I think it's just a ghost bump. And now we know what's causing all those yellow flags there.
No. That has always been. I mean, that yellow flag bug is basically the flagship bug of iRacing. It has never been fixed. And I remember reading a thread where a member of the staff a couple of years ago said that they basically tore down the track, you know, in their studio to find the problem, and they cannot figure out why. So, you know, they are at a complete and utter loss about that yellow flag bug. So, at a certain point,
I'm just
you
waiting-
have to embrace it. You know, it's you know.
I'm just waiting for Tony to be just like, it was me all the time. It's the LP2 car.
The power of the draft. Power of the draft. The whole 2/10 are gone from the gap between these two drivers.
Whole
Muster's
2/10,
making a move
let's
on the
say,
inside.
And let's say the podium position as well, as Muster look down the inside. You better brush your teeth to keep them shiny and clean, because look, you're in the podium spot, baby. But Zavalski looking up the inside once more, but nuh-uh. Muster in third. And I say the entire dental reference because he's got a toothpaste sponsorship on his car.
Oh, you're
Wow,
absolutely right,
look
yeah.
look at the gap to Jared Joseph now.
Ooh, you're
Down to
absolutely
a
right.
half second.
Let's jump there. Right. Greg Mack is a bit far away now. He needs to be careful because he's at risk of losing the draft. Maybe those 2 cars that are battling with them. You see the Cayman and the TCR.
Oh no. Boweather almost got caught up there. And he did. He ended up getting shoved off track.
He almost got Rona'd. But Joseph, Carver, Fairweather back in the fight for the lead here for the GP3s at Daytona. Any fan of NASCAR arcade games will instantly hate me for getting that stuck in your head. It's just awesome watching these MX-5s just fly through the bus stop, just sliding around. And they're always on the edge, and I think Daniel's crying or something.
I couldn't agree more. Every time they go through, I'm just like, I want to make a comment. I'm like, do you guys see this? They're just full send every time through that bus stop. It's really fun to watch.
They're
And
drifting.
you know, this car in real life, if I'm not mistaken, just got a sequential gearbox now. So
It did. The
It
new
did.
one has a sequential gearbox, and it drove
What
the
is that,
cost
TC?
of the car up an extra $12,000.
Wide.
Whoa!
Oh my TCR! He was on the
Two of 'em.
apron! Yeah, but the second TCR, what? Savelski wasn't driving on the apron to pass him, and Savelski is still being held up by Foweather, and he's socially distancing right behind that specific car. That car is just...
And for everyone that isn't sure what we're joking about with Foweather's car, his car doesn't say Corona beer. It's Corona something else. We shall not say the banned term that YouTube gets mad at us for.
Yes.
Well, I think it is just Corona that they detect.
No. It says It says also the other part. Remember, we had a close-up shot during the wreck in the airpin at Tsukuba.
Yeah.
That's right.
Did I flag us for that? No.
You get demonetized. I mean,
Yeah. Did we get demonetized for that?
Yes, we do.
so don't say it.
Wow. 23 seconds. I mean, this is a pretty comfortable gap for Rye Galloway to kind of cruise to the end of the race here. But the rest of these drivers are all close enough that they have to be on their toes straight through to the end.
And you can just see the
Oh,
difference
as
in the
Peterson
line.
goes way wide.
Well, Peterson's going for that straight line brake, and Smith is going for that dragging of the brakes going into turn one. It's a very different strategy heading into turn one here. Every different time, some people prefer braking in a straight line. Some people do for the weird witchcraft of turning while braking. And some people, me, just close your eyes and scream and just throw it into a massive drift.
Yeah, see, this whole slowing down for turn one, I don't understand. I just go straight off into the apron. It's easier.
Remind me not to be on a track with you next time.
Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
Austin, have you tested the USF 2000 damage model? Is it
Yes,
realistic
I
enough?
have.
Is it realistic enough?
No, it's not. I didn't get smacked in the face this time.
I feel like every race, somehow Mid-Ohio and a wheel hitting you in the face is relevant. And this time especially so.
Yes.
I think we have an issue. Greg Mack and Aubrey Condal, let's see.
Well, everything's looking all ship-shape right here, and it is not happening there.
Ouch.
And
Now the real unfortunate part there, the contact hurts, but there already was a gap to the cars in front. The part that hurts now is the damage against that wall, because that's something that's definitely going to cost a lot of time.
the closing speed of that GTO is so insane that I didn't even see them in the establishing shot of that. And into the wall goes Greg Mack, and that trunk is well, it's got the Ken Miles treatment.
Okay, so Mack was already in a tough spot, but now he's officially out of contention, unless something crazy happens. Foweather is trying his best to break this battle between, try to do something. Is it numerical disadvantage? But still, he has more than a chance of getting this race win, especially. Oh! Paul Slavonic, the leader!
Oh no!
In big trouble.
Paul Slavonic, big hit on the front nose, and
Sadro is right there on him now.
So here's Ryan Wagoner. I think he made a mistake just in front of our GP1 race leader.
Well, he's trying to break into turn one like I take it, and does he reverse straight onto the track?
No! Oh dear. Now we know that
And Paul has aero damage.
We know that with the old damage model, the TCR is basically a tank, but that was a massive hit for Slavonic. Let's see the comparison.
Yeah.
Oh dear, no, he's there. I mean, he's destroyed. I mean, yeah. I mean, this is going to be tough. Wow,
And
incredible.
Can we
Ryan's
look at
pulled
the
off and
sector times
retired.
between Sadro and Slavonic?
For
Is
sure.
that something we can pull up here? Oh, I thought we had our pretty
Wish.
color graphs that you had earlier.
No, just that the time delta is just for.
Ah, okay. Yeah. But yeah, those sector times will be interesting to see how much time Slavonic is losing on the back straight.
Well,
Because this sector
we're about
3
to
here.
find out because sector 4 ends right here. And
4 tenths
oh my,
almost.
3/10.
Hmm. And hopefully there's not suspension damage to make it even harder to take some of these quick corners.
I don't think he's going to have suspension damage, but he's definitely got aero damage. And this track is, I would say, 50% aero. Maybe
Agreed.
a bit more.
Let's see on the start-finish line. I mean, it's pointless to look at the lap because it's going to be a massive gain regardless. But let's look at the final sector. The 2 tenths and a half.
Half a second has just been gained on the high-speed section alone. And now Sadro is right there, and he's going to have the draft. Sadro is in the best seat in the house and the best attempt in the house to go up for the lead.
And so on that last straight, there was around a 7 mile per hour difference between Sadro and Slavonic at the entry of the braking zone into turn 1. So if that continues these next few laps, it will be very difficult for Slavonic to try and contend for P1 here, and he'll have to manage his gap to Jordan Musser.
We'll get back to
And
them in
back
a second.
to,
But these guys are something else.
Back to the 3
Wow.
Musketeers, I'm going to start calling them. Carver and Joseph at Fairweather, side by side, nose to tail. Always in a
Look at
different
that,
order.
2
each
wide
lap,
through
and
1.
woo-hoo-hoo. It's a party up here. As they have a GTO in there as well, and that's Leif Peterson, 4th place, currently in the GTOs.
Definitely not someone you see make
Oh,
mistakes
dodged
like
the
that too
grass.
often.
I think it was in 3rd place actually, and that was Chris Pies he was with. Back to Slavonic, and Satra's dropped back.
I don't know if it's because of that Cayman that was going through. Sector times, quick. There we go.
Sector 3.
Yeah, something happened in Sector 3. Must have been traffic.
Yeah.
I think a yeet was involved with that Cayman.
Also, time to start looking at the clock and start looking at the leader, Ry Galloway, who is just right now coming back onto the NASCAR 1 and 2. You can see that blue number 1 on the right side of the minimap there, the screen on your minimap. And now look at the sector 5. That's weird.
He's
That's
got
strange.
the draft of the Porsche ahead of him.
You are, that's why I shouldn't do broadcasting at 4 a.m.
Well, I think this is me just getting back at the quote drunkenness I had last broadcast, where I thought somebody was having trouble and he was actually gaining 2 seconds a lap.
Oh dear.
I thought he was off the track, but no, it was just his car was red.
Now, Fairweather gets that faster middle line down off the hump here, coming out of NASCAR 3-4. But it doesn't look like he'll have enough coming up to the top of the tri-oval to make it around Carver.
Yeah, he doesn't have any draft, any help aerodynamically. And that Mustang, Krista Shog says, "Hello, boys. Daddy's home."
That Mustang is as big as 2 Miatas right now. It's huge.
Yeah, he
But
would
the
like
sound
to
is
dump me out
lovely.
with cheese, and he's just gonna blow straight past him. And I think if I was Todd Carver, I would just expect. Oh, we got another Joker lap of Price. If I was Todd Carver, and I saw that Mustang just pass me, I would have been frightened to see that, because he just appeared out of nowhere. And
Peterson has opted to pit, huh?
I don't think he has enough fuel.
Okay, so we need to take a look at the clock. Where is the leader? Leader will get the white flag this time around. Okay, so we're lapping in the 2 minute 154, 155 range, 156 now. So definitely this will be the white flag. So our battles. Battle for the lead in TCR. Sadro still close but not close enough. Masser and Jabelski are going at it for the podium. Very interesting fight here as well. We also have pretty clear situation in the GP2 class with the Shong safely in the lead. And then I mean this free for all in GP3 with now that is Lopfer going past in the 288 car. And here we go.
That hell cart,
Yes.
as I like to call it. I love that parody livery, by the way. It is funny.
Here we go. Sarella Blanca.
Last lap here at Daytona for the World Racing lead. Rye Galloway, 24 seconds in the lead. Also class leader Sylvanek, Deschong, and Joseph. White flag in the air, but I think all eyes are on this MX-5 battle for the lead, but also the battle for the GP1 lead as well.
Yeah, so I think that, let's see, these guys are now on the backstretch, so they will actually be the last to come home in the final lap.
All right.
That's rough for Mr. Paul. I mean, that's a whole extra lap that he's going to have to battle to, make sure that the aero damage he sustained doesn't cost him the lead here.
Of course.
But, it also looks like Todd, Carver, and Foweather, and Joseph. I mean, Carver fell back a little bit, but he has an extra lap as well. Or no, they're going to finish right behind Rye Galloway here, so this is the end for them.
Yeah, same for the Shong. He's behind the leader. I mean, also we have to consider the fact that when you get aero damage, you also burn more fuel. So if Paul went very, 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 very extreme with his pit stop, he might be in a tough spot. But yeah, white flag for him as well. But first things first. I mean, Rye Galloway, what a race. Complete and total domination in the GTO class.
Domination indeed. The flag to flag race for Rye Galloway, and dominance all around as he takes the win here at Daytona for the World Racing League in the GTOs.
And we see those flashing lights and that Rensport KC livery cross the line. I mean, that's you're right. That's a dominating
Joseph's
victory.
out of fuel.
No,
Joseph
fireworks.
is out of fuel.
Wow.
I think this is the first fireworks in the day, but Jared Joseph certainly is not enjoying the show.
I think he's trying to get some of the fuel for the fireworks into his engine because he is sputtering fuel right now as we got a drag race here for the lead between Foweather and Carver. Carver's in the draft. Foweather, he's ahead, but here comes Carver. He's slipping up that draft in that slipstream.
Will he take the apron? Will he take the apron?
We might see some NASCAR lights. We might see a Barbadero 1-2 finish. Foweather takes the win.
Oh, poor Joseph isn't going to make it around.
And Jared Joseph gets passed by Greg Mack right there. And now here comes another drag race for the lead. Aero damage, Paul Sylvanek with Sadro. Sadro's closing in. 4/10 separates them. They're in NASCAR turn 4, heading into the tri-oval right now.
Great run.
Sylvanek, Sadro. It's a
he
great
took the
run.
high line.
Sadro's got the heat. They're bump track. And Sadro swings it around through the tri-oval, and oh my 1,000th of a second, Sadro takes the win.
Wow.
Can we go back to Greg Mack and Jared Joseph? Can we go back to Jared Joseph right there? Joseph is getting bump drafted across the line by the 366 of Ben Wedge.
What a finish.
Definitely some sportsmanship there.
Does Ben Wedge get an award for that?
We'll have to
That
create
is
one.
Beautiful. The Ben Wedge Award. Just help a mate out.
Let's see, because sometimes the official results are a bit iffy. But I think if this very, very professional replay that I'm showing you,
Wow.
come on, I'm trying to.
Look at how close that was.
I can do it. I can do it. I can do it.
Sadro officially has the win. I'm trying to
Okay.
get the
Forget the last minute ever happened. I mean, fantastic stuff. And now, I think we should go to the race results. Starting, of course, with our GTO class.
taking the win in our GTO's Rye Galloway, followed by John Price, Chris Pies, Lee Peterson, Billy Smith, Aubrey Kundal, Ryan Wagner, Greg Crusco, Mick Blue, Michael Johnson, Stephen Denton, Brian Leary, and Paul Denton finishes out the field. And I think the result that we all want to see.
A quick question:
Yes.
Are these qualifying results or finish results?
These are qualifying
These are the
results.
qualifying results. These are
That was
race.
close.
Here we go. Race
Taking
results.
the win is still Ryan Galloway. And then second place is Billy. It's 4 a.m., okay? Billy Smith finishes second, followed by Chris Pies. Greg Crusoe, Aubrey Condal, Lee Peterson, Mick Blue, Johnny Price, Ryan Wagner, Brian Leary, Paul Denton, Michael Johnson, and Stephen Denton at the back of the grid. All right, now that we have the race results, let's get the race results for GP1 by 5 thousandths of a second. Daniel Sadro ahead of Paul Sylvanek with Brian Zawalski in third. Jordan Musser, Joseph Mayer with Chris Jennings at the back.
And Jordan Musser and Brian Sabelski are only 600ths apart, so that's still pretty close.
Wow. And Chris Deschamps takes the win over Max Lipfer in our GP2 category. And our GP3s, Simon Foweather takes the win, followed by Todd Carver. Greg Mack takes the podium spot with Jared Joseph getting tapped across the line and finishing in fourth here, followed by Greg Brockway. Brendan Haran, Darren Dean with Ben Wedge receiving the Ben Wedge Award for being a good old sport and helping out Jared Joseph across the line. That was beautiful to watch. Jason Boss and Alan Dobbs finishes off the field for their RGP3 course. What a race it has been.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and Austin, I think now it's a I mean, I was complaining with my friends and teammates the other night that you know, when you start an endurance race in the day and it finishes in the night, you don't get the fireworks, no? When I won Sebring last year, I didn't get the fireworks, but now,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, I got fireworks midday. I think we found the cause to the yellow flag. There's just constantly fireworks up every now and then. But
so now we get fireworks. Of course, now we get the balloons at North Wilkesboro. I think they did something for Indy as well. But all jokes aside, the real fireworks were on the racetrack tonight, and
they certainly were.
I mean, there were some crazy finishes. We managed to catch all of them despite being very late in the night. So. At least you know, that hopefully will atone for the qualifying results I showed you in the end. But what can we say? I already cannot wait for the next one, and where that will be, Daniel.
The next one should be at Indy Road.
Ooh. And that
Yes.
is always an exciting track, especially with multi-class. We've been there quite a while, quite a lot of times in the last few days here on ApexRacingTV, and you know, it's going to be a great race, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we're down to our last two races after this. We've got you know, Indy Road on June 16th, and on the 30th of June, we've got the championship race at Circuit of the Americas. So. You know, two really exciting, very different tracks for us to finish up at here next. Looks like we do have our first set of interviews getting ready too.
Yes, we do. We have our GP3 winner, Simon Foweather, in the booth. And Simon, how was that race?
That was fun to drive. I don't know if it was fun to watch, but I'm sure it was.
That's an understatement. It was. Every time we would switch back to the fight for the GP3 lead, y'all would be either 2 wide, 3 wide, diving it into corners, or so spread out like horizontally across the track. We think y'all had an incident, but no, it looked like it was just a constant battle throughout the entire race with y'all.
And it was really clean racing between Todd, Greg, Jared, and myself all the way through. So we had a blast. And I guess Jared in the pits, he went light on fuel, I guess, because he was 3 or 4 seconds ahead. So that turned out to be the difference. But I was setting up for a pass just before the bus stop, but never happened. But man, that was fun.
Well, next week we're going to another old Roval course. It is the Indianapolis road course, so much different than Daytona. What are your thoughts going into there?
I've raced that for real, and it's a blast to race. I'm not sure I've actually done it on iRacing yet, but I'm looking forward to it. It should be a good one.
All right. Well, gonna have high marks and high expectations for you and your Rona car, and hopefully you have a good race there. But before we let you go, anyone you want to thank?
I want to thank my wife who's let me do this stuff to begin with, and I'd like to thank Todd and Jared for helping me out the last few weeks. They really helped me improve, and of course to you guys, Daniel, Austin, Marco, for putting on a great show.
Well, thank you, man.
I would say it's all you guys putting on the show.
Yeah, we just talk. Well, thank you, man, and hopefully you have another great race. Enjoy the rest of your night. And joining us now, it is Chris Deschong.
Hey, congratulations, Chris. That was a really exciting race to watch. I mean, the first 40 minutes, you guys were nose to tail, and it looked like the pit stops were really the deciding factor in this race. I mean, how you feeling?
Thank you very much, Daniel. I feel great, honestly. I think that was a fantastic race. Max had a fantastic battle with me for the first 40 minutes of the race. Him and I would go back and forth between passing every now and then. For the majority of it, I just tucked in behind him and enjoyed his draft. It was quite entertaining being able to bump draft street Mustangs at Daytona. Yeah, the pit stops definitely seem to make a difference. I made the decision not to take tires just based on the fact that the newer tires we got today on the Mustangs seemed to do very well for the first half of the stint. So I figured I may as well go on ahead and run them for the second stint. I don't know if Max decided to do the same thing or not, but that might have been what the deciding factor was.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely some of our questions here in the booth was, it's good to hear from you, is that, were you guys taking advantage of some of the tire model changes that went out today? And it's good to hear that you did, and you were on top of it, and that pit strategy really made a difference. On top of that, you mentioned you guys were battling real close and trading places, but it felt like there were a few spots where you guys were consistently faster than the other, or vice versa. I mean, how were you viewing the track? Where did you feel like you had an advantage?
So he definitely had an advantage in turn one. He was able to late break in there a lot further than I was willing to go. Turn three, he definitely had more of a handle through there as well. 5, I think, is where I started to pick up on him. And turn 6, the one back up onto the NASCAR banking, was another one where I definitely knew what I was doing through there. And then I'd say we were pretty even going through the bus stop, really. As for different corners and such, my main goal really was just tucking behind them and try and save fuel. I managed to save about a gallon or so, I think, doing that, and that might have helped contribute to the shorter pit stop time as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to hear some of these races coming down to pit strategy, especially on a track like this where there's so much full throttle and opportunity for cars to catch up in the draft. It's really good to see how you came ahead.
Absolutely. And Max was for sure catching me. I'm very happy that race ended.
For sure. Well, we've got another Roval coming up next week. What are your plans to, kind of keep him at bay next week?
Might try the same thing again. If it worked tonight, let's see what happens next week.
Awesome. Well, wishing you the best of luck in your preparations, and I know you'll be practicing hard. But before we let you go, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
All the viewers for watching tonight, WRL for putting this on. This is an absolute joy to race in. I love all the drivers in the series. This is some of the best racing that I've done in a long time, and it really seems like the series has cleaned up a lot. And it's a really fun series to run in. And thank you guys for putting on the TV commentary for us. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, well, we definitely appreciate the props, and thank you for putting on a good show. It looked like you guys had a lot of fun out there. See you next week.
See you later, guys. See you, Daniel.
All right, that's Chris DeShong, and we are at the end of this broadcast before we head off back home again into Indiana from Daytona. Marco, Daniel, any closing thoughts?
I think we had a great race here. There's a lot of close battles. I think we've even seen an increase in the number of, battles as the drivers get really familiar with the sim. We had a lot of drivers transitioning from WRL into, iRacing here. So it'd be interesting to see if we continue to see that expansion of the competitive field like we saw in GP3 next week. I'll report back on how some of the racing went with WRL at Daytona next weekend.
I'm always very, very scared when we have to do a race on the day of the new build. It went beautifully. So, it exceeded my expectation because usually, you have to deal with the new issues, the traditional bugs of the release day. But I'm glad the event went ahead as planned, and, we all got to enjoy a fantastic race.
A fantastic race was definitely in show for us today here at Daytona. Thank you everyone for watching. I've been joined by Daniel Dwyer, Marco Barbonero, who's been giving us all these wonderful replays, graphics, and every sort of thing production wise through that. And I'm Austin Knight, and I hope y'all have a great night.